Okay, just double checking, making sure everything's all set up to go live. Go there for IG. Alrighty, get all my things. Gotta get the materials ready. Welcome everyone for another live stream meditation. So today's theme is going to be a really pivotal topic. It's going to be one of those life-changing topics, and much like our usual meditations, we're going to kind of dive into that. And before we start off, just to kind of clarify and cover some things for your own introspection today, we're going to cover conditionings. Now, what are conditionings? Well, they are all of those tiny expressions, those, you can say, twofold: direct and indirect conditionings. So with the direct conditionings, these are going to be your, same beliefs, those similar expressions that you have with your family or your loved ones. And my hair's going to get in the way of this, so just know those terms now. But it's those expressions that you do automatically, instinctively, impulsively. It's, I'll tell a little fun story and example. My dad's one of those people that usually like scrapes his plates, get every little bits of food on there. And I always used to make fun of him for it when I was a kid. We used to tease, like, "Oh, why are you scraping your plate?" And then like fast forward 20 years, I'm sitting there at dinner and I realized I'm looking at my own habits and checking out my emotions, and I'm doing the exact same thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, so it's goes beyond that though. Um, though that was more of a lighthearted kind of the physical things that we express, these conditionings go a lot deeper, and they're very deeply rooted in our being because most of them arise before we're 10 years old. A lot of them happen when we're 7 or 8, or at least by that time you kind of soaked up everything. And the key here with that term soaking is to recognize that this is a soaking up of experience. You are learning these things, just like a dried up sponge soaks up liquid. It doesn't matter if it's dirty or clean water, it's indiscriminately kind of absorbing these expressions, these thought patterns, these emotional patterns. And the key with meditation is it's that process of contraction and relaxation kind of in its own manifested form. So when we have our indirect and direct conditionings, you can see them as kind of covering up this shining brilliant star with a bunch of different things. And now you can see that each one of these little spheres or each one of these little segments covering up yourself is a conditioning. And during meditation, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be revealing that ball, that you, that true self that you really are. And all these other things are kind of going to get put in a different light and perspective, because in terms of your thoughts and your emotional patterns, in terms of what you're going to experience, you may see these different patterns come up. You're going to be sitting in your meditation today, and these different types of emotional patterns, these different types of thought patterns and distractions are going to kind of keep coming across your reference frame. And the key here is to kind of not hold on to each of them, but just to see them, and most importantly, question them. So when they come up, see, where does that come from? Who does that come from? Who does that sound like? And the goal is that by the end of this, you'll be able to kind of know this process of, again, contraction and relaxation in our meditation, where you can identify one of these conditionings. And what's going to happen with this in terms of the identification of these conditionings is when you actually observe them themselves, they're going to completely fall away. Now, one of the thing with this is when you're looking at yourself, you can see that this process can happen naturally and automatically. You can always be doing this, meaning that you can remove layers of conditioning automatically, willingly, consciously. And when you get into a habit of kind of clearing away all of this clutter of kind of those influences of what's not you, what is left revealing your true nature, all remains, really. And I think one of the things here that needs to be understood is this is a process for you. This is a tool for you to come to realize what you were before you were given your name. before you learned all these different beliefs and ideologies. And in its truest sense, it's not that these things kind of vanish or go away, but you realize the source from which they came. And through that understanding, you're able to consciously navigate through the distractions that you have within your own experience. So, as you kind of relax today, we just want to make sure that we're focusing on really self-growth, self-love, self-healing, because what you may experience in this process of looking at these conditionings is that there is an emotional response, that there is, some sense of being uncomfortable. And one of the things that we need to understand, and I'm going to loosely kind of quote Dune because I love the reference to it, but you need to let the fear consume you. You need to just let these emotions, and you need to not resist all of these sensations that you're going to feel, because you need to understand it kind of like going through that wave. You can't turn the boat or it's going to crash and flip you over. You need to just go through the wave, just keep moving forward. And in this sense, realize that these things are happening automatically, naturally. And you don't need to put any effort into silencing them or making them more active by looking into them. Just simply question how they came to be and keep your space and keep your distance. And the goal through all of this is that the result of looking at and identifying these conditionings is that when you go back to your normal state of being, you can say that this one's gone, and it's kind of revealing that shining, loving light that you are. So the key here, is just again to look at everything in your experience and everything in your life as something that has impacted you in such a way that it's put on a different layer, a different lens through which you perceive, through which how you express yourself. And when looking into these happenings, these phenomena, you can see that they express themselves and manifest in different aspects of our life. Some of us may have the same mental patterns of self-destruction or negativity or separation, isolating yourself. Others may have the same arrogances and egos, and it's the same thing in terms of emotional expressions. You may find yourself in a fit of rage or yelling like your parents did when you were a kid, or you can retreat and kind of run away with conflict like some people do, like those other influences that they have. If you see someone that doesn't like to deal with things, so it's really best understood in terms of even how modern psychologists are looking at these fields now, is that you're absorbing a lot of this information naturally by the time, again, you're 7 to 8, before you're 10. And it's these dramas, traumas, and initial happenings that we really want to look at initially, because you can see them as those ripples in the water. And those first events and experiences where you learn these behaviors are those stones. And when that hits that still pond, it just echoes throughout our life. And until we really recognize and see these things, they keep happening. These patterns keep repeating. Um, and I can't express to you enough the fact that when you remove these layers, and the more consciously and willingly and lovingly you remove these layers, the less you deal with in terms of unpredicted chaos. Life happens, so you're always going to deal with stuff. But in terms of the severity and the intensity of certain situations, they're not going to even be close to your life. And that's one of the things that needs to be looked at, is even when you experience chaos and strife from others, it'll still be at a distance. It won't be things that are very immediately you or caused by you like they once were. So it's good to see that, you can completely eliminate, cut the head off the beast, so to speak, of so many different facets of chaos and strife to your life when you look at these conditionings. And what many of you will experience and feel is that you will be removing weight that you didn't realize you had on. And that's some of the most beautiful and eye-opening experiences any of us can ever have. So that's kind of the whole goal and the purpose of today's meditation. So let's get started. Per usual, just make sure you are in a nice, comfortable position. And from here, We're going to tap the bell. And with each tap of the bell, allow yourself to simply sink deeper and deeper into relaxation. With each tap, allow yourself to drift into silence. Listen to the bell fade. Allow yourself to look. Look at a pattern. Look at a habit. Look at those expressions so automatic you don't even realize you're doing them. Just as we experience life through a looking, we can also discover those subtleties that avoid our gaze when we look inward, when we look at our own self, our own expressions, and most importantly, our own contradictions. We must look at that which causes us chaos. What are the origins of it? In this looking, there is no one else to blame. We must look at our own self and that which we control. So we must look with maturity, accountability. What are some habits that you do? How do you express yourself in moments of irritability, frustration, stress, anger? How do these emotions express themselves? We must look, for if we don't, we will not know what holds us back from truth and liberation. Allow yourself to simply be. And you will observe these patterns will come up spontaneously, as they always have. Except now you will not look at them with such intimacy and attachment of identity. Who is it you see when you look at these patterns, these expressions of impulse and instinct? Is it your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your brother, sister, aunt, uncle? It doesn't matter who it was learned from, but the fact that it was learned. This simple truth of how we grow lies the ground of existence to the truth of our being. So what were you before you learned? What was the experience of life like before you were named, before you identified your existence, this beautiful, miraculous sense of self and I as a body? When did you learn this? And even if you were told, why did you not question? Ultimately, it does not matter what arose back in the past, for it does not exist. The only thing that matters is right now. So one must forgive themselves of simple misconceptions and misunderstandings, and embrace the fact that there is a life unknown. And if you seek to discover, lay down all which you knew. Let go of the conditionings of old. Seek to question them in the current moment. Where did you come from? Who do you represent? And at times it arises in a mere instant, the snap of a finger, the blink of an eye. You recognize. You recognize the foreignness of this thought, of this emotion, of this physical act, and you see that this is not me. This is not me. You may express it as, oh, that's someone else. That's them. That's from this experience. But truthfully, you must simply observe and know you identified with something that was unreal and untrue. And you only know that it is not you because you see the disinterest arise and the detachment occur. And just like when you know and learn something new, you move forward forgetting the old automatically, naturally. So does this wheel of inward looking arise, coming to a deeper and deeper understanding and recognition of that which what you are and that which what you aren't. And in truth, you can only observe that which what you are not. And what is experienced is the revealing all that is left of what you are. For when you remove, you are left with what is and always has been. How do you express your emotions? Is it not sprinkled in with your parents or your guardians, those who raised you? What about your closest friends? How do their influences change your perception? When we look at it, we can understand that our personality is mostly based in otherness. And like a flower trying to go, we bury it with more soil, covering up the flower to never see the sun. Removing our conditionings is taking away that soil so the flower can breathe and see the light, so it may be nurtured. In its own beautiful expression, that which what you truly are can be free, free, limitless. Your life can change in an instant but you must look. You must look at the conditionings. Look at the beliefs, the assumptions that you have of the world and of the universe. Things that you are told and led to believe and feel. That which you know is good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure. The ideal life, how to be. When we look so simply and straightforwardly, we can see that every aspect of our life has been crafted. And in this regard, there is no end to what we can reflect upon, because we must look at the simple conditionings that we have now, that we express, that we divide ourselves and push others away, the sources of conflict. Our arrogances, our ignorances, our delusions, we must address them honestly, humbly. The fact is, it is not wrong to have conditionings. This is how we grow. But we must end the age of continual addition and adding them on over and over. For these cycles are like wheels continuously being spun. However, as they spin, they constrict and confine our existence and our life. They bring pain and suffering. Yet we keep spinning the wheel out of habit alone, and this we must come to see. Life is full of lessons, but are you going to look? The biggest lessons that we can learn from are those that express themselves automatically and naturally, expressing freely from our own being. And these contradictions we must look at. That which what we feel to be and that which how we act and manifest into this world. How we see life often does not meet the expectation. For reality is reality. We have no control over it. You are it. You are part of it. All that happens arises because of the universe's own will. The key here is to understand you are the universe itself. The conditionings, the identifications, they're foreign because there are things in which we observe. Therefore, they cannot be us. Thoughts only have power when you give them attention. Emotions only control you when you give them your effort. Sensations only act because you desire them. And your conditionings express themselves because you continue to feed them. Let the wheels die. For when you no longer feed the movement, the action, the inertia slows and the wheel ceases to move. In truth, all of these conditionings are illusory. but it's with time and consistency and effort that we solidify these thoughts into existence. Through our belief and our effort, they come to be. But one must understand that there is a choice. You have a choice to learn, to address and acknowledge. Or you can repeat the patterns of chaos and suffering. And as we experience, as we age, the chaos only gets stronger, greater, more impactful as we age. These must be understood, these simple truths of how we come to be and how our identity and self-defined personalities and egos come to exist. And we must look at how to take them away, letting go. Allow yourself to ease the tension and stress within your own existence. Simply exhale deeply and remove. Remove the doubt, remove the fear, remove the negativity, the conditioning, the habit. We are amazing healers because we are life itself, always finding a way. But we can only do this when we look within. No matter the habit you have, we must forgive those who passed it down. At first, you may feel resistance, hesitancy. It is natural to feel anger, resentment towards those who have wronged you, led you astray. But we must be wise and understand that it is not their fault. They were led astray, and they lived the same life of belief as you once did. We must not condone and go after those who don't question. It simply is life. You can only hold yourself accountable for what you are doing in this life. There is no need to point and blame. Life is life. All we can ask of ourselves is to eliminate our own misconceptions and delusions and illusions, to grow, to love ourselves, for that is the ultimate expression of it. So as we look more directly, what makes you angry? How do you express it? We must look at anger, we must look at these moments of vulnerability, because when we are stressed, we reveal the truest aspects of what still clings to life within us. Maybe it's not anger, maybe it's fear, anxiety, envy, What is that emotion that controls you the most, that influences your actions, your thoughts, and your perception the most? We must look. It's that simple sense of realizing that which binds us to our lesser self. When we realize and recognize this thread of conditioning, it can often reveal the most liberating findings. But we must also understand that as looking at the contradictions. Look at how others make you upset and how you upset others. Do they not align or have some parallel? Look at what bothers you the most in this world and look at what you express that is similar. Do they not align themselves somewhat? Is there no realm of overlap? Life's truest mysteries and greatest answers are revealed through the paradox, the contradiction. For it reveals points of interest that we must explore through our own inquiry. This whole experience is a game of inward looking, of life revealing itself more and more, deeper and deeper with each day. And when we are born, we are destined to die, but with life, we are given an opportunity to discover. In truth, an opportunity to discover its life that never ends. It is not held by the duality of birth and death, for life is eternal. And when you remove the layers of conditioning, when you remove that which is not you, through the seeing of it, the recognition of it, the understanding of it, you are left with what is true. And when you fall in love with that true self, life opens up and you sink deeper and deeper into understanding as you continue to peel layer after layer off. In this life of looking, there is no end. But with each layer removed, you are left with a new beauty to explore, a new life to live, truly taking each moment and seeing it as the new moment it is. And when you see the beauty in life and the truth in life, that's all that will express for you. And you need not worry because all fear will be dissolved. And you will be left with peace and love and calm and happiness. But you can only enter this realm of discovery and recognition when you question that which currently stands as your understanding. For only when we enter into the realm of the unknown do we really discover that which is illuminating, liberating, and loving. So you must question yourself, question your actions, question the thoughts and emotions. Look at them with space, with distance, And when you no longer feed them, they will die on their own. Seek to understand yourself. Seek to recognize that which is not true or you. You will see yourself and experience yourself, the sensation of liberation. And as you come back from the meditation, just allow yourself to really sit in the silence and just be for a moment. It's important that we each take time to look at these conditionings, at the subtle expressions that we naturally, instinctively, and impulsively do. These are the things that when we truly look, when we truly and honestly question our own actions and habits, faults and, our flaws and good habits too, we can begin to discover and really see just how much of our life is influenced and based in other people. And though it's beautiful and provides an opportunity where we can grow, more often than not with life, we live so long just adding things onto our existence, these conditionings, these different influences of people and experiences, that we never really question who's the one adding it on. And as we, as you kind of dive into this more spiritual path of, introspection and inquiry, it's meant to kind of show you the beauty of life, but also the kind of precaution that we need to take with life, that yes, it's meant to be shared and explored and to build these bridges and bonds with people and to have these experiences that shift our perception and change us forever. But we need to understand the ground that they're all built upon. And until we really see what made us what we are, we'll never really fully know what we are. And the thing that's really interesting about this type of search with conditioning is the fact that when you really see the things that you are not and they fall away, you kind of recognize instinctively, naturally, you can say, just how faulty they were, just how, I don't want to say like silly or irrational or illogical, but you just realize that they're so unnecessary and that there's really there's nothing wrong with just letting them go and casting them aside. Because the thing is with all this, it's like, again, it's like any type of aha moment, any type of sensation or experience of revelation. It just happens. It's not something that, you're like, oh, I can't believe that's not real anymore. You're just like, oh, that's true. And then you just move on because there's something within you that just recognizes the truth. And that's the real special stuff. That's the real magic here is a lot of this happens naturally, automatically. But it only can happen when you put yourself in the opportunity to experience those things by looking, by, you know, by simply questioning how you came to be. I think one of the biggest things that we can always learn from are those moments of really intense suffering because they offer those kind of check marks, those flags, those checkpoints of where we can investigate and kind of really look into our reflection. And when you have a moment of intense stress or trauma and drama, strife, chaos, especially when we're children, one thing that happens is that we kind of compartmentalize. And your child self almost kind of sets stuff aside because it's like, I'm a kid, can't handle this, need to live. And the key with spirituality and conditionings is that this really is a process of healing the wounds of the heart. And when you yourself kind of reflect and work your way back and you gain a deeper understanding of what's true and real, from there, you can really start to heal yourself. And again, this is a process that really happens automatically. All you need to do is look and see, really experience that aha moment, and these things will just kind of fall off themselves because they've been moments of tension for so long. All they've needed is just a moment of relaxation, so you can see it and then process it and let it go. But because these things are so deeply rooted, we often hold on to them. We refuse to really look or address that they're even things because there's such strong attachment and identity with them. Um, and then there are things that really we just aren't ready to hear yet. I mean, that's also something that needs to be understood here is that you're only really ready when you're ready. And if you're here listening to this video or in this meditation, you're ready. Because you wouldn't be listening to it and wouldn't have gotten this far if you weren't invested or intrigued at even the possibility of changing your life and enhancing your life. So that's something that really needs to be kind of explored here is those own experiences that really set the biggest barriers up for how you perceive the world. And I think that's something that really needs to be understood again. I mean, there's a lot of things that clearly need to really be understood because this whole game of life is recognition and understanding. So everything that really comes up in these talks needs to be understood fully. So it's, again, when I say something, if it comes up and it's like, oh, you question it, good. Continue to go into that questioning, but don't do it in a sense of dismissal. Question it with openness and earnestness, and when you do this with yourself as well, you'll see these conditionings just fall away. It's effortless. And you learned just today how to kind of look, to look at these things, to question that. How did you come to be? Why, who is that? Who do you represent? Try it. Like, you will be shocked at when you yourself use your own inner voice and say, who do you represent? When a thought or habit comes up, or where did you come from? Like, it sounds silly, but the thing is, you spend your entire life talking to yourself in your head. What makes this any different? You know? And the ultimate goal with all of this is that you reach a point where it's silent. And that's, going to be my closing note today is really when you see past the thoughts, when you see past the emotions and the sensations, and you recognize those conditionings, they don't happen anymore. Um, and if they do, it's only in moments of like intense experience. Um, Essentially, like those times where it's like a fight or flight response, or something that's like incredibly blasphemous from your current understanding of the world. Um, like selfishness is a big one. Like people who are selfish and destructive like that, you can see the passion come up still. But the real goal ultimately is to let you know that you can experience life in a flow, just pure being. And even now, like in the moments of silence, All that's there is, the external world, and it's silent in my own space. And that's kind of the power that I want to, you know, give you, and not even give you because you already do it. But the thing is that we need to understand that we have these abilities. We need to understand that we have these skills. We need to understand that we are born with this because you are it already. There's nothing that's being done here other than realizing what you are not. And it reveals what you are. So the key driving home point again is just, you are already this. It's effortless. But you need to put yourself in the position and just observe and to question and to look. And through living with this sense of understanding, you will experience the silence, the space within that's always present. And it's so it's inexpressible. Words limit it, and they actually cause some misinterpretation in a lot of accounts for this. But right now, just love, peace, calm, silence is observed internally. And in a lot of ways, life is experienced like a movie. It's just happening. And you're sitting back, watching. Intimate, yet distant. It truly is life changing when you recognize you've been wearing a weight for so long it didn't realize you had it on. And you recognize that weight when it's gone. And through this process of conditioning, you know, is peeling back those layers and introspection, you can remove those weights. And it'll feel even better than when you want to tell someone something and you finally get a chance to get it off your chest. It'll feel like that times infinity. So I hope you've enjoyed this meditation, and I hope you've gained some tools to continue your own search and progression. And ultimately that you can end the madness and capitalize on March Madness this month. We're almost there. Just keep doing your best. I wish you the best. Have a great weekend, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy, please subscribe, share, follow. Peace.